amount of body work that he put in, and with the way that Joe George was looking in certain parts of the fight, mouth open, breathing crazy heavily. He was looking a little sloppy even with his footwork. His legs were looking like they were starting to go. I just didn't think he had the power to do it at that point in the fight. And from out of nowhere, he lands, an uppercut from hell, man. He knocks Escudero clean out. As soon as he hits the ground, you know it's over. So Jerry was souped up. He was amped up. He was saying that he should be going to these fights now and he should be doing podcasts because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And Jerry might be right. Oftentimes I don't. Anyway. Dope night of boxing last night. I had fun. Had a great time. We can finally talk about some boxing on this channel. We don't get to do that too often. We've only really talked X's and O's boxing twice before. So this is a good way to do it on a boxing show. We're going to talk about boxing. Not too bad. We're already ahead of the game at this point. We start with Joe George, I think, right? We'll start with the way the card played out. Phenomenal performance by Joe George. I feel bad for Escudero. I think Escudero had the fight in the bag. I think he thought he had the fight in the bag. I think Joe George was walking him into that shot or trying to walk him into that shot for the entire fight. Baited him, set a trap, paid off perfectly. We disagreed. I thought that he spent, I thought he spent more time on the ropes than you would if you were trying to fight a different fight than the first fight. He disagrees. He doesn't feel like he was on the ropes very often. I got a chance to ask him a question yesterday. He feels like he didn't spend much time on the ropes, or maybe that the work that Escudero was doing on the ropes wasn't very effective. I disagreed. And maybe we got to take that with a grain of salt, because in another question asked by, I think it was Keith Heidick, asked him if he knew how down he was in the scorecards. He didn't even believe he was down on the scorecard. So if that's the case, then we must, there must be a fundamental difference in understanding of how we scored a fight. I don't know. But to me, it looked like he fought the same fight. And he made it a point at the press conference to kind of say that look, I can fight him the same way. I can be up on the ropes and still beat him. Escudero was, his body work was phenomenal yesterday. It looked like it was getting to George. It looked like George's legs were gone at one point. Mouth wide open, breathing heavily, firing off some of the only punches he was throwing were single shot punches, way out of range, and he was missing widely. So I thought Escudero was going to just cruise to an easy victory, and it didn't play out that way. And it was, like I said, I felt that he was doing that. I asked him a question after the fight, and it was basically, were you trying to set that punch up for the entire fight? And he says, yes, I got to take his word for it, because for the most part, Escudero would land combinations. And if he was going to follow George out early in the fight, he would follow him out, usually with some work. Usually he'd follow him out with a jab. I think he got lax. I think he thought he was beating him up. It surely looked like he was beating him up throughout the course of the fight. And he stopped following him out with work. He just started to plod towards him. And George might throw a wild punch and he'd get out the way, or maybe tie him up and then, continue to mount an attack to the body and follow him out. And he got really lax, and Joe George threw a perfectly timed, beautiful uppercut. Knockout of the year type of uppercut. We didn't have many fights this year, so, it's, there's not many to go by. But whenever you've got a single shot, one punch knockout, and it's an uppercut, right? It's one of the hardest punches to land in boxing. It leaves you the most open and vulnerable from a defensive standpoint. And if you're out of range, forget about it. Somebody should be able to see it from a mile away, right? So it's got to be a shot that is set up perfectly. The person has to be completely rocked to sleep and not even see it fucking coming. The idea doesn't even cross their mind. Zab Judah was a beast at that. That was his joint, and if you land that shot, and you get it done the way he got it done. One shot, boom. One shot, one kill. As soon as he hit the ground, you knew it was over. I don't see why not. You know, unless there's a fight to where the stakes are way, way higher and it ends in a knockout, you know, then yeah, right. But in terms of just a thing that you look at as a thing of beauty, that shot was a thing of beauty. I love that. I love that punch. And, you know, I liked Joe George's performance. I'd like to see what he's got coming up next. Escudero, fuck, man. That's a tough one. That's a toughie. You know, because you rightfully think you won the first fight. I feel like you won the first fight. You go into this second fight and you're winning, right? Like, what did you stop him in the 9th round or something like that? Or the 8th round? He was winning all the way. Wide. It was a 9th round. I don't know. Now moving on to the Reece Salim fight. It's a guy that's coming off a TKO win against Adam Lopez. Now he's fighting a guy that he's already fought and beat before. You beat him the last time out. Got a TKO stoppage this time out. I think there was some kind of problem with Bates' arm. But it was a legit performance. I mean, it's not really much to talk about there. I just feel like Reece just boxed him up, you know. I don't know that we learned a whole lot from this fight. I think that, you know, you typically want to see a guy, you know, step up in competition. And certainly if you're fighting guys that you fought a few fights ago and already beat, then that's not what we're looking for. So, but nonetheless, man, you pick up the dub, you move on. Good performance by him. I thought Bates put in a solid performance too. He was down wide, but it was competitive enough. Like, the rounds were not blowouts, in my opinion. You know, he kept it competitive enough, kept it close enough. He certainly belongs in the ring with Reece Salim. It wasn't, you know, some sort of crazy mismatch. So you want to see more from Alim. You know, and in the Angelo Leo fight, I thought that Leo was really impressive, right? He came in as an underdog. Slight underdog. I think he was only plus 105. It's essentially a pick'em, right? But he was coming into the Steph Fulton fight as a 3-1 dog. Most people felt like Steph was going to win that fight. There was a slight buzz on Twitter. You know, granted, it was, you know, mainly started by Leonard Ellerby, but there was certainly people there that was saying, no, you know, Leo's going to beat Fulton. And I think that I think it was a good matchup. It was going to make for a good fight, but I think it makes for an even more interesting fight now, really, to be honest with you, because now everybody got to see Leo. We got to see that he can come in and even, you know, a slight underdog or in a fight that's a pick'em, strap on the line, he was able to close it, you know, get it done. As soon as we found out that it was going to be Tremaine Williams as opposed to Steph Fulton, I immediately saw like a little uptick of professional fighters. I think it was J-Rock, maybe one of the Charlos. I'm not sure. J-Rock, maybe was it Josh Greer? There's a few cats, man, on Twitter that were saying that Tremaine Williams he's gonna fuck around and win and be crowned champ. And it didn't go down that way. Leo worked the body like a beast, touched him up to the body. I mean, it wasn't a super competitive fight. Just banked a ton of rounds and kind of got it done clean, man. For as much as that kid stands in the pocket, he's got very, very good head movement. He's got very solid fundamentals. He doesn't get hit as often as you would think he gets hit. And the way he attacks the body, it's almost impossible, man. If you're not touching him up and he keeps touching you to the body like that, if you're a guy that's primarily focused on using your legs, you're gonna struggle, you know? So I'd like to see what happens, man. Steph's got some pop. You know, he's certainly got enough pop to keep you honest. And if he's on his back foot and he's moving, he can make it a tough fight for Leo. But I think that it's going to be an interesting fight. I think that the guy that comes out of that fight, the winner of that fight is, you know, their stock is going to rise dramatically. Angelo Leo's stock has risen a little something. I'd be curious to see what the odds are now. I don't know which way the odds makers are going to go with it. I think maybe they tighten it up a little bit though. Right? Maybe he's only, I mean, he was plus 275. It's close to a 3-1 dog. Maybe he comes in plus 200, 2-1 next time. Or you guys think it goes the other way? Maybe he's even more of a dog. I don't know. I like the performance. I like his demeanor. You know, he's a well-spoken guy. He's you know, he's got a good work rate. It would appear that he's got a good work ethic. You know, when you look at the kind of shape that he's in. And the amount of punches he's able to throw, and he's able to do that for, you know, it seems the entirety of the fight. So I think that there's a lot of good things there. One thing that I think he's lacking in, right, is obviously the power, man. I just wish that he would I wish that he would sit down in the shots a little bit more, maybe switch the shots up, shot selection, switch up the speed. You know, if they keep coming in at the same speed and you can kind of get used to the power that's coming back at you and you can kind of start to roll them and take something off of them, right? It's not so bad. It looks really bad, but you start to get used to it. Now, if you got a guy in there touching you up and he's touching you up a little bit light and then changing up the speed and coming upstairs a little bit light and then down, you know, downstairs hard and so on and so forth, I think it's a little harder to get used to it. And you can, let's just say if they get lax and they're taking some of the less hard punches, when you do switch up speed and when you do fire off a hard shot, you sit down on that fucker, you know, sit down on that shot and let it rip. And that's what I'd like to see, man. I hope that, you know, I think that this is something in boxing that's there is no tried and true method. People try to do it, but if there is anything that you can do in terms of strength and conditioning to kind of get like a little uptick on his power, that's probably what he wants to do. Because if he gets that going, if he starts to really sit down on his shots and starts to hurt some people a little bit more, he's going to be a tough dude to deal with. He already is. It's not going to be a cakewalk, right? So, dope fight. I can't wait to see their rematch. I hope it can happen soon, man. I don't know if they can, like, if Showtime can sneak, because they were the main event. So I don't know if they can, like, sneak them into the schedule. It'd be kind of whack for that to happen like that, because you would want them to headline again. But it would appear that they're booked up until January. And I understand that Broner, I think, might be kicking off the schedule in January. So maybe you get Fulton and Leo in that next rollout, right? I would imagine you got to give Leo some time to rest, and then you get a camp in. So it makes sense, right? I think that timeline's fair, and that's something we want to look forward to. That division's pretty stacked as it is. You would hope an MJ fight could get worked out. You got 3 straps right there. What else, man? What else we want to talk about, bro? We got that fight card coming up next week. I want to see that one. August 8th, man. I want to see, you know what it is. I'm a Jersey guy. My boy V. So this was a good one. Not much controversy, not much to figure out here. I think a straightforward little ep. A little fight coverage, a little X's and O's. I like to talk about the crazy stuff. I like to talk about the fighting stuff too. I was excited yesterday. I thought that was a dope show from Showtime. I wish that there was a way that they could black out the entire fucking thing, you know, to where you could only, there were a few shots to where Angelo Leo, I think, was in the corner, or even Tremaine Williams. They would show him from the corner getting ready to meet, you know, the opponent in the center of the ring, and behind you see everything blacked out. You know, I thought that was a dope look. Less is more. All this little bullshit that they're throwing in the crowds and it's all weird. It's like uncanny valley shit. You're like, I don't know. I don't like it. Even if it's people on Zoom, real people on Zoom, I don't like looking at these people's faces. You know, when it was normal people in the crowd, well, these are normal people. This is not to disparage the people there. You're normal. I just I want the people sitting there. If they're not sitting there, I don't want nothing. I want nothing. I don't want pictures of fighters from before. I don't want any graphics. Nothing. Just black it all out. I would imagine the ref has to communicate with the commissioners or the timekeeper or something like that. So they probably have to be able to see these people. But, I don't know how you do it, but find a way, man. Fucking black it all out. Black it all out. Make it look cool. So with regards to the DAZN, show, the Eddie Hearn fight camp, I gotta be honest with you, man. I typically cannot spend the whole day watching boxing unless I'm covering an event, you know, and I haven't been covering events for a while now, so I usually have shit to do during the day. It did not really fit into the old sketch. I kept in touch on Twitter, so I was seeing what was going on. It seems like the Eggington-Cheeseman fight was a good one. But yeah, I missed it. But that's not the point of interest, as usual. Eddie Hearn's he's up to something again. You guys are going to hate it again. You're going to say, why are we talking about Eddie Hearn again? But he keeps doing shit like this again. He loves it, right? And this is not this isn't one of my crazy conspiracy theories. This is a write-up. The guy's name's Fred Garvin. And he wrote an article on the medium.com. I thought it was dope. I said it on Twitter. I said it's fire. And I think you should check it out because it's one of the better articles I've read in a while. But this one little paragraph was like the point of interest. It was, for me, the most, the most poignant point of the piece. Quote, right? A month after Eddie Hearn was issuing stern warnings to fighters that the days of them bilking money out of the zone were over, he's pronouncing to the world that he spent £5 million on a lighting rig and a boxing ring. Apparently, Eddie doesn't want anyone else taking advantage of abusing the zone's complete ignorance to line their pockets. £5 million on a lighting rig and a boxing ring. There's a lot there that we need to unpack, right? The first thing that again, I don't even know about this, but the first thing is that do people buy lighting rigs for a temporary show? I've never heard of that, right? If you're doing like a one-off, I would assume that you would rent it, right? Because where would you store it? Why would you want that for always in your backyard? And then the same thing with a ring. I would imagine that you could rent the fucking, rent the ring and rent the rig and have people come and build it and then take it the fuck back out of there. And it would probably be cheaper, I would imagine, than £5 million. It's a lot of bread, a lot of dough. And now that he's talking about that he wants to have, I think he's saying that he wants to have fight camp every summer from here on out. It makes a little bit more sense. Like if you can take the DAZN money, and this is just my crazy theory, I think, and I think that this is what's being alleged, right? When you look at, some of the people calling into question the amount of money that he spent on the backyard, we're not hating. It looked phenomenal. I thought it looked great. But it would seem like he's playing a little loose and fast with the zone's money, almost on purpose. He knew that fight in America, as far as the zone was concerned, was not going to drive subscriptions. Nobody was going to fucking pay $20 to watch that caliber of fight. I mean, and White versus Povetkin, if we're being for real, in America, is going to be a tough sell. I don't know that, outside of the hardcores, I don't know that many people are, going to be that interested in that fight to where they're going to, go through the hassle of signing up for DAZN and so on and so forth, or even reactivating their account. So I don't know. I can't imagine why you would dump that kind of money into setting up for even, for the fights, not even for this one fight. I'm talking about for the entire schedule. I don't see anything there that would justify that. And the excuse is shaky. It's dubious, this excuse. If Matchroom's going to do it, we got to do it big, and people don't want it. They want to see something different. And it doesn't sound like the move that sound like a businessman would make, like somebody that's interested in like turning a profit. And, it sounds like something somebody crazy would do, like a rapper would say, yeah, we got to do it, not Eddie Hearn. I think Eddie's smarter than that. I don't know. Right. So I'll reserve my judgment. I don't know enough about the situation yet, but man, it feels like Eddie's kind of over the situation at DAZN. I don't think he cares one way or another which way it goes. I think that Eddie, the writing might be on the wall over there, right? We mentioned this first round this round of investment that was supposed to happen. I remember there was some meeting happen and they were going to go in and try to get new investors, and we never heard of it again. I don't hear Eddie, really as charged up about the DAZN thing. And I'll say this, even pre-COVID, I think some of the allure behind this whole DAZN deal was starting to wear on him. And I don't think that he was being as vocal about it as he was before. I think he was starting to be a little bit less vocal about the platform and more vocal about his fighters. So It's something to watch for. It's something to watch for. If the zone doesn't get something going really soon, I would start to get concerned because it doesn't seem like the math is necessarily adding up. It seems to me like somebody's got to budge. I think that the promoters are hoping the fighters budge. I think the fighters are not trying to, and they're hoping that the promoters take maybe a little bit less money. I think that the zone is saying, look, you guys are paid up, and it's like a Mexican standoff right now. And again, if they don't get it going, I would start to be concerned. So